From Chapter 4 of the Astrological Book of Life. We are on a train, hearing a conversation between a dragon and a monkey. The monkey sat by the window, doing his favorite work, talking. The idea of the international student is nothing new, he said. Nalanda University flourished in India 1,500 years ago. And in the 900s, people traveled thousands of miles to study together in Spain. Christians, Jews, and Arabs all studied together as colleagues of learning. The academy at Cordova flourished for 400 years, and that's no small thing. I will say that astrology did get obsessive, said the monkey. During this time, even barbers had their own astrolabes, and they would put off giving you a shave or a haircut until the precise moment that the sun or moon was in a more beneficial degree for a nicer-looking haircut. The monkey pointed out the window. Now we can see Sirius making an entrance, he said. We can watch the arrival of the brightest star in the night sky. The dragon spoke. That is a bright light, she said. It is something to learn the names of the stars. I wish I knew more. We don't always notice Sirius, the monkey said, because our own planets are brighter. But there it is, 5 times the size of our sun. So it is sometimes called the son of our sun. The Greeks called it Sophis. It's 2 or perhaps even 3 stars together, which gives it added brightness. Those of us in this galaxy may all be orbiting Sirius. It is possible. The dragon looked again at the star, which was a beacon emerging over the hillside. It's nice to know it's there, she said, and it has such a history. I've never studied the stars, but it makes the universe less empty. And there's something else about it, maybe a harmony. The monkey continued. Sirius is associated with Isis in Egypt, and if you were born with that star on the eastern horizon, or if she was lined up with the sun or moon at the moment of your birth, you have some additional power throughout life. Sirius can bring ambition, sometimes too much. It can propel a person to succeed in their desires, but can bring unwanted jealousies and enemies who try to cut you down. That can happen to any of us, but if this star is key in your chart, it will bring those things to more prominence in the life story. The person may become the leader of a local school program, and if Sirius is involved, they may have been propelled into that position without even asking for it. And they may find a jealous enemy there, waiting to try to take away their job just as quickly. Sirius can also make a person passionate and capable of great devotion, a champion. They may become custodians of a larger movement. The Dalai Lama was born when the sun was conjunct Sirius. That's a lot of heat. He was propelled to leadership and also had powerful enemies early in life. In Egypt, this star was the forecaster that the Nile was soon to flood. They watched for it every year as a sign of life renewal. It's associated with drought and the intense heat that melts the mountain snows, and those waters then flood the great river. This would bring new life to the valley, and so Isis became the giver of life. Sirius is sometimes referred to as the soul of Isis. In general, it can certainly forecast extremes. It's called the dog star, bringing us the dog days of summer. In China, it is the celestial wolf. The Blackfeet Nation called it dogface. The Inuits of Alaska called it moondog. The Pawnee called it wolf star. And in ancient Greece it was the Hound of Orion. How do we account for all of these similarities? Sirius Black, if you know him, he gets transformed into a big dog in the J.K. Rowling story. In India it was called Tishtraya the Hunter, also called the Chieftain Star. The monkey smiled because he knew the dragon was really taking an interest. So, he said, moving on. Marco Polo took his trip to China in the 1200s, and he mentions the astrology of the times. But wasn't this story mostly made up, said the dragon? Well, we haven't found the original manuscript, and what we have are many versions of his story. But no, it isn't made up. He has been discredited because he didn't mention things like the Great Wall, or he didn't record any tea ceremonies. But he was in the north of China where tea ceremonies were not a big deal. And the Great Wall at that time was only a crumbling foundation of what had once been a Great Wall. It was rebuilt into the Great Wall that we know today long after Marco Polo was there. So it does make sense that he did not mention it. But I reference him because in Book 2, Chapter 33, he reports that he got to Beijing and he found 5,000 astrologers working for the emperor, all of them on the royal payroll. Masters, teachers, and students. This shows that astrology has always been a serious study by serious people. In the 1200s, the sharing of ideas was getting suppressed. The popes began to forbid anything that was not written by Christians. They even banned Aristotle until his works could be altered by a Christian pen. But astrology continued despite all of this. A student at the University of Oxford could take courses in astrology in the year 1300. The same was true at the University of Bologna, where they said a doctor without astrology is like an eye that cannot see. But the church was arguing against studying too much of the dome of heaven, as it was called. And in China, things developed differently. Astrology was and remains a secular study for the most part. They did not blend in religious ideas like they did in other regions. It was about the life force, the energy which touches everything, the qi. The qi is in feng shui and in agriculture, in botany and herbs and the martial arts, and within the soul. Early on, astrology was a tool of the state, a governmental study. The heavenly bodies were like court officials in charge of various departments of life and departments of government. And these officials could be petitioned through ritual to ensure success in warfare and in harvesting and planting, and to protect the emperor, who was the pole star's point of access here on Earth. By 200 AD, China had named 283 constellations, and they had documented the positions of 11,520 stars. The planets were called the 5 threads, like the threads on a loom. Their orbits were carefully mapped, and these lines of transit made patterns in our lives, like the creation of a great tapestry. You can watch 100 movies today about the ancient world without seeing one reference to astrology. And yet filmmakers pride themselves on historical accuracy. I hope one day they are allowed to tell the real story.